Hello, hello, friends. My Simon Says stamp, May. May 2022 card kit. I was like, what month is it? Arrived. As always, disclaimer, the kits are sent to me because I am on the Simon Says stamp design team. I don't have to do the unboxings, any of it. I just do it because I enjoy it, you know, as is tradition. So let's get into the kit. And yeah, let's just see what all is in here. Okay. Yeah, got it all. As always, candy. Okay, so this is the Brushed Flowers card kit, and it's very pretty. So we have more new tools, storage things. They've got a new size zipper pouch. Like the original ones are large. I need to order some of this size. I'm thinking this size will be perfect for my kids. Like the larger ones are great too because the larger ones will fit like the whole kit. Wait, where I have some larger ones, just a sec. Okay, here is the original Simon zipper pouches, like the size. So I can give you an idea. It's basically like 9 by 12, so you can fit 8.5 by 11 paper. Kit contents, you know, it's a great way. I like putting entire kits into these because then I can just kind of have them. I have them stacked like on a shelf behind me, and then that way I can pull it out, have the kit, yada yada. Anyway, so those are the original size. This is the new size, so it's like 4-ish by 9 roughly. And yeah, like I said, I want to get some extras of these because also I think these will be good for like for my kids, for, you know, coloring things, pencils, etc. And they're more durable because I swear all the little pencil cases I get for them just get trashed like so quickly, and these you can wipe clean, you know, and like you can hang them up or add a little like binder clip to them, you know, different things. So anyway, I'm excited about this. So you get that. There's a new flannel ink cube strip. It's silicone. It's the same material as the Pawsitively everything tools, which I've shown in multiple videos, that come in a bunch of different colors. That I use mine as like coasters to hold ink pads, you know, there's a bajillion different things. So these ones are made to hold ink cubes. And ink cubes, these are exclusive to the kit. I do not know for sure if Simon will release all of their positively saturated inks in cubes, because that's the new thing with just this kit, is you get to try out some of Simon's positively saturated inks in cube form. Now, like I said, I do not know if they are going to release like the whole collection. It would be wonderful. I would love it. Even though I have the full-size ink pads, I love having cubes. They come in really handy, you know, and especially if you're doing like multiple inks, like there's a million different reasons. So we'll see. I assume if the demand is high enough that Simon will be able to, because they're great inks. And it's convenient having little cubes, especially for people who don't have as much space. But again, like I said, I already have the full size, but I like having the littles too. So you get those. You get a blending brush. Love it. The little teal colored blending brush, so you can do blending with your little inks. So yeah, you've got inks, blending brush, holder, the stamp set, which is fabulous. This is the Brushed Flowers stamp set. Bunch of solid images, so you can stamp them in colors. This could be really pretty too to stamp and heat emboss, because you also get a container of Simon's clear embossing powder. So you could stamp the images in clear like stamp them with clear embossing ink, heat emboss them with clear, and then ink blend over them, and the images will resist. Love it. You can also stamp like the sentiments with a slow drying ink and then heat emboss them with clear embossing powder to make them shiny. Options. So I really like this. I like the sentiments too. This is just a really pretty set. So you get the stamp set. There are, there's an envelope, a metallic dull pink envelope, and then the pattern paper is by Prima Marketing. It's painted floral pattern paper. It's really pretty, like really pretty pattern paper. The colors are really nice. I really like this pattern paper. So yeah, there's pattern paper. And then there is, of course, solid cardstock. So we got some dull pink, some black cardstock, and then some Nina 110-pound solid white cardstock. There is a coordinating die set available for the stamp set that's separate. I will have links to all the things. At the moment, I'm not sure. I have some ideas. We'll see. You'll just have to stay tuned to the rest of this video to see what I make, because I'm not 100% sure yet. I've got multiple ideas. But that's the kit in a nutshell. Like always, I will link to the kit, the subscription option, everything that is available individually. That'll all be down below as well as on my blog. And then just stay tuned to see what I make.
So what I ended up doing is a technique I did years and years and years ago. It's been a really long time since I did this. So I pulled out some Canson XL watercolor paper and a ton of acrylic blocks. I have a lot. I've been doing this for a lot of years. I used to use them back before the MISTI, and stamp positioning tools even existed. So I have a ton of acrylic blocks. So I took the Canson XL watercolor paper and I cut it down. So I just cut it in half again. So I've got 2 panels, and I am going to stamp a bunch of the images from that set onto these. I'm going to use the colors that come in the kit, but I also pulled the lighter shade of all of these from my stash of inks, just so I had a bit more variation. So I have Carnation ink, Dublin Lemonade, and Seafoam. And I'm just going to stamp basically a random pattern on both of these. I'm not going to make them exactly the same because why bother? And yeah, I'm going to speed this up in editing as well. It didn't take very long, but I just went along and just stamped all these images. I was stamping the florals, and then I'd stamped some of the greenery, and I just kept filling in all of the areas and kind of making sure that nothing was right next to the other. So you've got a nice variation. So it looks a little more like an organic pattern, and basically you're creating your own pattern paper. So you could do this on white cardstock as well. However, the whole point of this specific little technique is I want to spray all this with water. So I stuck to the colors that come in the kit, and then the lighter shades. You don't want to do too many colors because one, it'll get overwhelming, but also if you have tons of colors, when you start spraying with water, it'll just start immediately turning into mud because all the colors will mix together. Whereas ones like these, for the most part, they're all kind of complementary and it'll be fine. So I kept stamping the greenery. There's the little hearts in the set, so I use those as kind of little filler images. There's also little dots that can be used as flower centers. I just stamped one of them just to kind of fill in some of the little areas. And like I said, I haven't done this technique in a really long time. What I should have done is just sprayed one panel and then dried it and then did the second. I ended up using what I feel like is too much water. I kind of, in my head, was this, I ruined it. It's done. It's ruined. But after it was dry and after I did all the spot and everything, I walked away. And then I came back to it and I was like, no, this is workable. It's cute. I'm happy with this. So because these inks are so water reactive, spraying them with water, the inks start to move. However, you still have the stamped image there. So it just creates this really neat effect. This is something you need to experiment with. Even though a lot of inks are water reactive, sometimes they just they're not compatible with the watercolor paper. I don't know. I've tried this with different inks over the years, and the last time I'd done it, I'd used a different type of ink, and I remember it not working at all. And I couldn't figure out why. There was, the ink and the paper wasn't compatible. But this specific combo of the Simon inks and the Canson XL watercolor paper works, obviously, because you can see the inks move. And I'm working on top of my flour sackcloth. This just kind of helps contain the mess, because when you spray it with water, the ink starts pooling and moving around and all that stuff. So I let everything, I dried everything with my heat tool. And I'm going to add splatter, of course, because that always fixes it, because really, right now, it does look like a hot mess. So I mixed Perfect Pearl powder with water, splattered that all over these, so I'll get that subtle shimmer splatter that isn't super obvious until you tilt it in the light. Love it. Love. So, did that first, dried that, and then I'm going to add black splatter, which seems crazy, but this really, I don't know, it just works. So, I'm using black soot distress paint, just squeezed on it, shook it up really well, squeezed on my palette, and I picked out with my brush, but I'm not loading my brush. I don't want blobs, like my normal splatter, where it's huge blobs. I just want a fine, light splatter, and that's what I did across both of these. Just this nice light black splatter, and it really just adds that extra little bit of texture. And in a sense, I'm creating this watercolory background. So after those had dried, I trimmed them down, and then I took a scrap of Simon's white cardstock, and I'm going to ink up this oval shaped sentiment stamp. So I use my anti-static powder tool on the cardstock. I have it in my Misty. I have the stamp lined up, and I'm inking it up with VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. I'm going to stamp that, and then I'm going to flip the cardstock around and stamp it a second time. And I'd done it with my Misty rather than acrylic block, just in case I had to stamp the sentiment twice. But I was able to get a good impression both times, which is always a nice feeling. So once it was stamped, I'm going to coat this with clear embossing powder. Same embossing powder that comes in the kit. I just have, my big container of it. I think my big square container. People have been asking me about that. I don't know how many containers of embossing powder I have in there. Probably 5-ish, because I have a lot of it. Between kits that the embossing powders come in, my own stash, etc. That's why I switched over to the sandwich containers, because after 20 years of card making, I just ended up with a lot. And I make a lot of cards. But for most people, a container of embossing powder, you can use the coffee filter technique that I show in a lot of my videos. You don't need 5+ containers of white embossing powder or clear or whatever, Anyway, I don't have the coordinating dies for this set yet, so I just fussy cut these sentiments. I just used my little Cutterbee scissors and cut around this, leaving a little bit of a border, similar to what the wafer die would do. You could also just cut right up to the edge, but I thought the white border just gave it that little extra bit of something. So I just took my time. This, again, is sped up in editing, but I took my time, cut around both of these, and then once both of those were cut out, I'm going to pull out white card bases. So again, Simon's smooth white cardstock. They're already scored. I'm going to put it into my Misty. I'm going to line up another one of the sentiments from that stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that with the Carnation ink. So do both of the card bases with that, and then the little companion sentiment, I'm going to line up under that, and that I'm going to stamp with the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And you could leave it there because, cute little sentiment on the inside. But I still had all of those stamps on my acrylic blocks. And I thought, why not add those to the inside as well while everything is still sitting here. So I did a little kind of cluster of, a couple of the flowers, greenery, that little heart that's in the set that I think is just so cute. So just kind of stamp those around the sentiments here. And then I'm going to stamp the little heart and just kind of pulling in several of the colors, not all of them, onto the inside, still leaving enough room to write a sentiment. So once I get the last little flower stamped, that's going to finish off the inside of the cards. And then off camera, I coated the back of those panels with Simon's Big Mama foam tape. So they're going to be popped up just a little bit with just a little bit of dimension. I did the same thing to the sentiments. I'd put the foam tape on the back of those as well. And I'm going to pop those onto the center of each of these panels. And then as a final little bit of embellishment, I pulled out some iridescent confetti from my stash. And I'm just going to add those, just get that little extra bling going, because it'll just kind of tie in with the shimmer splatter, which I'll show at the end of the video, so you guys can see that shimmer and the shine from the embossing powder. So I just kind of arranged a few of the little confettis around the sentiment. And then once I was kind of happy with the placement, I'm going to adhere these into place with dabs of craft tacky glue and using my Studio Caudia embellishment wand. So adhered all of those into place. I got to let the glue dry. And then I pulled out I have more metallic dull pink envelopes in my stash. So I pulled out another one and then used the other one from the kit to just tie these all together, and that completed these cards. So I've got that like watercolory look with the shimmer splatter and that little bit of black splatter, and then the shine of the clear heat embossed sentiment and a little bit of bling. And then the inside has the multicolor sentiment and a little stamped images, and then a shimmery metallic envelope. These were a lot of fun to make. So like I said earlier, I will have links below the video to my blog post. I will link to the kit, to the subscription, to everything I used. That'll be in the supply list directly below the video, as well as on my blog. So you can check that out if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching, for subscribing, for thumbs upping, commenting, all of it. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye.